Hello Canadian gardeners, how are you guys doing today? If you're new around here, my name is Ashley and I'm a soil scientist with a minor in plant science, and on this channel I take that science and I apply it to all things gardening but also plant care. And sometimes I take your questions and I make an entire video on them because I think that they're worth it. And in today's case we are going to be taking Justin's poor Honeycrisp apples, Sweet 16s, and Autumn Brilliance. So he actually has rust. He most definitely has rust on his plants. So in this video, we're going to be going over exactly what rust is, what it looks like, how prolific it is, and why it's probably what you're seeing on your plant, not water spots, not anything else, and how to prevent it, but also how to control it while it's happening actively outside. And specifically, we're going to look at exactly what's going on with Justin's plants. So I want to thank Justin for sending this in. Be sure to let Justin know in the comments below that you are grateful for showing us his photos. And that means that all the photos, just like the last one we did for Sherry, all the photos and videos in this video are credit of Justin. So these are actually from a Canadian gardener's backyard. So let's get into it. So rust is, again, it's a fungus. They are all parasitic fungi for the most part. They need a host plant that is healthy and alive to be able to survive, propagate, and grow. Rust usually starts off as white spots on the underside of the leaf. It will look it's something similar to powdery mildew, but not quite, and that is usually the first signs of it. Now, if you see it, you best pluck it off early because it just progresses uglier and uglier over time. So it slowly becomes kind of a reddish orange, brown in some cases, and it actually has quite the texture to it. It has a topography to the spots. So whether that be on the top side or the bottom side of the leaf. On the bottom side of the leaf in particular, you are going to notice quite the, it almost looks like eggs, honestly. But those are actually pustules, and that word is literally worse than the word moist. It's so disgusting. But those pustules eventually will explode, and like every other fungi that we talked about, from downy mildew to powdery mildew, it spreads, and it spreads through water and wind. We're in luck. Rust has 5,000 known species of rust out there, each one affecting its own type of plant. Aren't we lucky to have something like that? And it's found everywhere. It's not just Justin's poor apple trees or his Autumn Brilliance. It is rose bushes. It can be snapdragons. It can be hollyhocks, daylilies, tomatoes. Your lawn can get this. It's literally everywhere. So if you're seeing kind of that reddish dot that has a topography to it, reddish orange, a pustule on it, especially on the underside of the leaf, then you most definitely probably have some species or some form of rust. So the most common form of rust is actually Phragmidium. Phragmidium is the name of it, and that is the most common one, but they're kind of all treated and prevented in the same way, so it doesn't really matter what species of the 5,000 that you have, you treat them all the same way. So what exactly is happening to Justin's plants? Well, rust is doing two things. It's attacking both the top of the leaf and the bottom of the leaf. And the top of the leaf, it's obviously going to reduce things like photosynthesis. And then on the bottom of the leaf, it's going to do some things like block those stomatas and the guard cells from respiring and doing their job. So you are both affecting your photosynthetic cycle, but also your respiratory cycle, which is equally as important to the plant. And I've talked about, those two before, but they're both very integral, and both the development of the tree upwards, outwards, more foliage, height, root development even is affected when the photosynthesis or the respiration is affected, and then the fruit is obviously affected as well. If the plant is solely focusing on survival and it's not able to present its life cycles as it needs to, from root development in the spring to foliage development in the early summer to flowering midsummer and fruit production late fall. If it's not able to walk through its life cycle in that way, and its constant focus is basically on keeping the leaves alive that exist already, you'll have a less than desirable crop, but eventually you'll have a less than desirable tree as well. What does it need to survive? It honestly can survive in very mild conditions. It doesn't need extreme heat, and it'll do well in just almost anything as long as there's some level of moisture. One thing it definitely does need is wet leaves though. So it needs the leaf to be moist in order to penetrate the leaf and get in. And this is why I sometimes think when people talk about water droplet burn, they're actually talking about rust, because it'll show up almost immediately after watering the foliage of the plant. You'll end up with rust spots, and that's because the rust actually, that's the site of infection is where the water droplets are hitting, or where the moisture is located on the leaf. So I can see where those heads can collide. If you don't know, I did do a video on that whole myth of magnification of water droplets on the leaf causing burn. So I encourage you to check that out, because it's not true. But I do think that this may be kind of the beginning of that wives' tale, is actually the fungal infection, the parasitic and fungal infection of rust. So what is our treatment? Well, this is tough. Justin's in a tough situation here. So he has some very limited option once rust has set in later in the season. The first option is to actually get rid of the foliage entirely. So any foliage that is infected, simply cut it away and throw it out. Do not compost this stuff. It can survive a Canadian winter, and it will come back every single year. So clip them off and compost them. And conversely, when it comes to fall and actually raking the leaves up, make sure you get every last one of those leaves off of those infected trees out of your yard, that they're not hanging around, deteriorating in the grass, deteriorating around the base of the plant for the entire winter, and getting ready to invade your tree next summer as well. The other thing that you may want to do is actually put a deep mulch around the tree. A rose bush or a tree, this is possible. If it's a snapdragon, a tomato, this is a little bit more difficult. But if you can get a very deep, heavy layer of mulch around the base of the tree. So Justin, in your case, you may want to think about using straw, for example, just anything so that when the water comes down after the plant being watered, that the splashback, it doesn't splash back up into the tree itself. And this is important because as those pustules burst, some is carried away on the wind, but a lot of it actually ends up in your ground, like around the base of the tree. If you have mulch there, you are going to prevent that splashback when you do water from it coming back up into the leaf, but also you're going to prevent in the fall, when the season's coming down, you're able to actually remove that mulch and just simply compost it. Simply get rid of it, throw it in the garbage, and then you very well may be removing a lot of your spores in that case as well. And then fungicide. So your other treatment when it's actively happening would be to use a fungicide on the leaves that are healthy. So you've removed all your leaves, you've placed a mulch at the base. Now it's simply time to use a fungicide, and you can get a rust fungicide from any garden center. There's lots of different varieties in both the United States and in Canada. Prevention. How do you prevent this next year, Justin? Obviously you already have the trees, and I would say in the future, if you really like apple trees or you want more trees, for example, I would try to get a resistant variety. There are cultivars that have been made that are resistant to rust. This is, used by orchards and actual people who are producing this on a large scale. They have resistant varieties simply because they don't have time to handpick leaves off of plants. So I encourage you to find a resistant variety. In your case, you have a Honeycrisp with a Sweet 16 braided together or grafted. I'm not 100% for sure. Maybe let us know in the comments down below, Justin, what the case is. My understanding is that it's braided, and what may have happened there is when a plant gets braided, they're very pretty. Don't get me wrong. I've had hibiscus trees that have done this, that I've done this with, and it's gorgeous. But each site where it's rubbing is actually an infection site potentially. So while braided trees are very pretty, braided trees are also very susceptible to infection. So they just run natural risks. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. So in your case, I don't know if this has made it worse for you, but that may be something that you may want to watch out for in the future. Spacing the plants. So you obviously want to leave enough room between the plants to allow for airflow. This isn't the case in Justin's case. These are full-blown trees, so that's not his issue. But in the event of like a snapdragon or a tomato or your lawn, I mean, you can't really space them as much as you'd like, but try to space them, space out your snapdragons, your tomatoes if you can, and just allow for proper airflow. Pruning is also very important to allow for the airflow, so prune your tomatoes, prune your snapdragons, and cut your lawn, essentially, is probably the best. Airflow will stop fungus in a lot of cases. I mentioned this before, I'll mention again, the deep mulch, but then not composting that mulch or those leaves or that plant at all. You want that out of your garden. You do not want it in your compost. Be nice, don't put it in the city compost either, and put it in the landfill or burn it. I'm not sure if you're allowed to burn in your city, but try to get rid of it because it will overwinter and it'll come back again the next year. And the last prevention method, and you can, I've never had a rust issue on a plant, so I've never had to do this before, but you can get elemental sulfur, and it's a powder, and you actually put this powder on the leaves. So I used to do this in a greenhouse when I was doing a wheat breeding research, and we used to put sulfur pucks inside of a kind of a burning container, and it would essentially like mist or fog all the wheat, because like I said, grass, wheat and grass, kind of the same family. Wheat does get rust, and so we would use that actually to prevent our baby wheat plants from turning into adults with rust, and it worked very well. It smells absolutely horrible. It smells like rotten eggs, and I'm sure you could get like a mechanical spray version, not necessarily the greenhouse like hanging version, and I do know you can get a dusting version as well, so that may be something you want to look at, and you would apply that in the early spring. What I should mention, if you have a tree or a rose bush that has rust or has any fungal disease or bacterial disease, or you're trying to fight something off, even bugs, even if you're trying to fight off bugs from trees, bushes, anything, stop fertilizing. And the reason for that is because new foliage is incredibly easy and yummy for fungi, bacteria, viruses, bugs, you name it. Those tender little leaves are, it's just the playground for pests. So back off on the fertilization, and especially back off on a nitrogen compound. If we can prevent exponential growth in the plant, it'll give us time to control the infection or the pest. And that is exactly what you want. If you have rapid growth because you've applied, 24 dash, maybe straight urea, maybe you've put straight urea on, we're going to have a harder time controlling that if you have this beautiful lush growth. And this goes for houseplants even. If you have an infection or some sort of pest in your home, you want to try to stop new growth as it's coming, and you want to try to back it off as much as possible. So if that means moving that pot or moving that plant away from sunlight, trying to restrict its water maybe even, just till you can get that pest under control, because that new foliage is a literal, like, it's a salad bar to pests. So keep that in mind as well. I hope you found this helpful, Justin. Please let me know if it's going to help you and your wife. And of course, you have me on Facebook now, so you can just send me a message if you need any clarification on any of that stuff. And you guys, do not shy away from sending me your questions, your photos. You can find me on Instagram or Facebook, just Gardening in Canada, except for Facebook is Garden in Canada, because Gardening in Canada is taken. And I answer all those questions both on those platforms, but also in the comment section below. And so if you don't have Facebook or Instagram, which people don't have. I completely understand that. Just let me know in the comments below. I have absolutely no problem answering them. And who knows, maybe you'll get your own video. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!